Greetings, friends. My name is Pavel Steinmach, and now we'll dive into the top news of this day. Regardless of hostilities on the front line, the Russian Federation did not refuse its main goal, the destruction of the Ukrainian state. This war has existential reasons, and therefore there is practically no place for compromises. Currently, the Kremlin's negotiation demands towards Ukraine and the West are completely inadequate. Russia puts forward an ultimatum of surrender, not a negotiation position. Moscow declares the possibility of negotiations solely in order to discredit Ukraine, destroy unity with our allies, and buy time for itself to prepare a next round of aggression. The war will not end until Russia is physically capable of fighting. The Kremlin can also be stopped with NATO's security guarantees to Ukraine. Or at least modern fighter jets F-16 and long-range artillery. And we need more air defense systems. All of these are needed for the safety of Ukrainians. Without additional security systems, the tragedy that happened in Lviv that night can be repeated in any other city. According to preliminary data, 4 people were killed and 37 were injured as a result of the missile attack by the Russian invaders. But this system is also needed in other cities. In Sumy on July the 3rd, in Kramatorsk on June 29th, in Dnipro on June 27th, and in Kyiv on June 24th. All these attacks were aimed at civilian targets, and what can it be called than terrorism? With the help of allies, Ukraine is able to defeat modern Russian terrorism and restore its territorial integrity and the effectiveness of international law. There is simply no other alternative in Ukraine and the West. In 1 week, the NATO summit will take place in Vilnius. Ukraine is waiting on positive decisions for NATO and Ukraine. The summit is the best opportunity for allies to show the effectiveness of the alliance. And we agree that full membership in the alliance will become possible after certain conditions are met. But now it is the time for overt political steps. Until joining NATO, Ukraine needs a temporary format of guarantees. However, it cannot replace Ukraine's membership in the alliance. It is worth considering the sad experience of Bucharest summit in 2008. Then the Kremlin considered the West's passivity as an encouragement to aggression against its neighbors. Ukraine's accession to NATO will not exacerbate the contradictions with the Kremlin, but on the contrary, will resolve them. The Russian Federation will not dare to attack a country protected by the alliance's guarantees, and as a result, a stable peace will come to the east of Europe. Russia's temporary occupation of Ukrainian territories is not a reason for refusal to join NATO. After all, there is a historical precedent. Germany became a member of NATO in 1955 while never giving up on the desire to unify Germany, which took place only in 1989.
He is a decision maker for today to be Ukrainian NATO or not to be. We have great relations. So he support our future in NATO. But we are speaking now about very, very important for motivation of our soldiers fact. No, invitation, just technical thing, just wording. Invitation, Ukraine to NATO.
Not down the line, now.
Now. It's very important. It will push Russia. It will push our soldiers to the occupied quicker because of the mobilization of the people. It's so important to feel that you are really be in through around allies in the future. But we know that we will never be in NATO before war finish. So we understand everything. But this signal is really very important and depends on Biden's decision.
Ukraine in NATO will not become a burden, but will significantly strengthen the allies. The alliance will receive a first-class, battle-hardened army on the eastern borders of Europe. The time has come to invite Ukraine to NATO. Russian aggression and terrorism are threats to the entire free world. No one can consider their borders protected and people's safety guaranteed if Russia succeeds in its attempts to undermine the rules-based international order in Ukraine. Our country deserves to be invited to join NATO. NATO needs Ukraine just as much as Ukraine needs NATO. Active hostilities continue on the front line with a length of more than 1,200 kilometers. Since the beginning of summer, the defense forces of Ukraine have regained control over almost 160 square kilometers. Defense forces of Ukraine are gradually advancing in several directions. Bakhmut, Azov region, overcoming strong enemy resistance. In some areas, Ukrainian troops are defending against attempts by the Russians to counter-advance. The current offensive operation is more difficult than all the previous ones. After all, there is no longer the effect of surprise as in Kharkiv Oblast. There is no possibility to isolate the enemy group as in the right bank of Kherson Oblast. Therefore, this offensive requires greater efforts and resources. In fact, only the first stage of the operation continues, the breakthrough of advanced, well-fortified enemy positions. After its completion, the advance of Ukrainian troops will be much faster. The main Ukrainian forces have not yet been put into battle and are waiting for their time. Increasing Western military aid can significantly help Ukraine in liberating its territories from Russian occupation. We are moving gradually forward in the east and south, forcing the enemy to retreat in some places. The advancement is seriously complicated by intensive mine-laying and multi-layered defense prepared by Russian occupation troops, as well as by Russia's continued air superiority. Ukraine's main offensive has not yet started. Ukraine can repel the aggressor, but international support must be stable and uninterrupted.
Дуже важливо на кожному засіданні ставки знову і знов.
Very importantly, at every meeting of the staff, we return to the issue of ammunition, in particular for our artillery. And this applies not only to supplies from partners, but also to production in Ukraine. I am grateful to each and every person who works to fulfill this strategic, vital task. We are constantly making progress in the production of weapons in Ukraine.
We need to strengthen the protection of our sky with modern fighter jets and begin training our pilots and technicians as soon as possible. With F-16s, Ukraine will be able to defend our cities from Russian missile terror in a more effective way and advance on the battlefield more rapidly. That concludes our today's video for now. Thank you for watching and stay updated. Subscribe to our UATV English channel on YouTube for more news from Ukraine. Your support is that really matters. Goodbye.